But in the business, I am Bola's grandmother, I believe. Yes, I'm her grandmother. I think. Great-grandmother, actually. I'm her great-grandmother in Premier, which sounds a little crazy, but I'll explain that to you in a little bit. Just to kind of tell you a little bit about myself, I started Premier about 12 years ago, 12 and a half years ago now. And I started just because I needed to generate a revenue stream because my kids were young. I wanted to make some extra money just to be able to support my shoe habit and my clothing. I love to go to TJ Maxx. Do you like TJ Maxx?
Yeah, one of my favorites.
It's one of my favorites. Still to this day, I still love to go to TJ Maxx. If there's one and I'm driving by and I have an extra 30 seconds, I cannot help myself. I have to go in there. I just know it's going to be a good deal. Because all women like good deals, right? Isn't that true? I mean, who doesn't want a good deal? And you get good deals in there. Anyway, I started doing that, and my children were about 4 and 7 at the time. And I just wanted to make some extra money, but I didn't know anything about direct sales. Do you have any experience with direct sales at all? Okay, then you're in the same boat as me. So I had no idea, I had no concept of what it was, what it wasn't. I really didn't have any expectations because I didn't have any knowledge. So when you have no knowledge, you can not really have an expectation. I had only been to one direct sales party, so to speak, in my whole life, and it was a Pampered Chef show. And I had small children, so those stones that they sell were very popular because I made chicken nuggets all the time. Anyway, she never mentioned that I could ever sell the stuff. I never once considered that I could sell the stuff. So I guess I should be grateful because I could be walking around with a Pampered Chef stone on my head instead of my jewelry on my neck. So I'm grateful for that. But anyway, I decided to do it. And how it happened is I went to a jewelry show when we lived in Washington, D.C. And I didn't wear jewelry, not any jewelry, ever. And I went there and my friend's friend was selling the jewelry. And I listened, and my one fashion tip that I learned, and this is true, and the people that have heard me do the OP before and know this is what I say because it's true, I talked the whole time. I sat in the very back of the room, and I was rude, if you want to know the truth, and I didn't listen, and they said, big earrings make your butt look smaller. I said, oh, I need that. Whatever that is, I need it. And so my children were young and I still had baby weight on. So I remember I bought some earrings and I remember wearing them and I felt really uncomfortable because they were much larger than anything that I wore and I just felt like people were looking at me. But I noticed that after I started wearing them, that they were looking at me, but they really did draw attention to myself and they were flattering. And so I was thankful that I kind of got out of my box with my small earrings. Long story short, I ended up moving to Ohio, and that girl kept calling me and saying, would you like to be a jewelry lady? And I'm like, no. And I had every excuse in the book for why I didn't want to be a jewelry lady, but the underlying reason, and this is true, and I can say it now reflecting back, was that I was terrified of talking in front of just 2 people, 4 people, but if I had to speak to a room full of women, it terrified me on the inside, truthfully. So anyway, after 8 times she called me, I called her on the 8th time and said, send me the information. I read it. I don't read details. I just say, yeah. And I signed it. I put my investment on a credit card, and I started, and this is what I knew. I knew that my friend's friend made 50% of everything that she sold, and that she used to have money issues, and now she was going on cruises, and she was making money. And it was qualified because my best friend told me that, and my best friend would not lie to me. You know what I mean? So I knew that it was true because I trusted her. So I signed up. I put my investment on a credit card, and she called me and said, did you get the paperwork? I go, I did. She goes, well, what do you think? I said, well, I signed up. I sent my paperwork in. She's like, you did? I go, I did. She goes, well, I only have 30 days to do your training show. I go, well, you better get here then, because she lived in Washington, D.C. She came up, she brought one necklace, and she left the next day, and there I was with the jewelry, me, myself, and I. Yikes, I was terrified. And I started selling the jewelry, and truthfully, I didn't know what I was doing, and I really did make it a point to educate myself, because when you're in business, you need to know about what kind of business you're in, so I really did I went on, there was really no such thing as online back in 2000. I mean, that's hard to believe. Isn't it hard to believe? But there wasn't any Google back then. And I ended up starting to sell the jewelry. And my training show was about $800, so I made $400. I thought, I like this. This is working for me. I did 4 shows. I got 0 bookings at my first 4 shows. Yeah, that was not feeling so good. And then on my 4th show, a lady scheduled a show, a random stranger, and I really, that was just so, it made me really happy. I just couldn't believe how excited I was that a random stranger liked me enough to have me meet her family and friends. So I just kind of tell you those things because I think when you come into any business that you're not sure of, you're going to be terrified. And public speaking is probably the number one thing most people are afraid of. Not having knowledge of jewelry and fashion is another thing that I think a lot of women struggle with. And time. People think, well, I don't know if I really have time to work this into my schedule. And I was taking care of my kids, which obviously is a full-time job, but I know that 60% of the people that come into Premier do it in conjunction with a full-time job. So that's good information to know. So don't feel that if you have a full-time job, and you're a student, right?
Yeah.
Do you work too, or just a student?
I do consulting. Payroll consultant. I'm a payroll consultant.
Okay, so do you work 40 hours a week?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then
Sometimes 50.
sometimes 50. But you know what I appreciate about that is busy people get things done because they manage their time much better than when you have nothing to do all day long. And it's amazing how you can just do nothing for all day and still be exhausted at the end of the day and have nothing accomplished at the end of the day. But what I like about this business is that I could work it in when I want to work it, and the flexibility of working in this business is huge. And I'm just going to show you 3 things that people generally look at when they're looking at a business, and 3 things that people want to know are: number 1, how do I make money? That's a good thing to know. Number 2, how do I keep my business going? And number 3, how much does it cost to get started? So I'm just going to start off by showing you this right here. And I'm going to give you a marketing brochure that's going to have all of this in it, but I just want to show you this real quick. This is the jewelry lady, and this is the hostess. Now, in Premier, we do jewelry shows, and we can do jewelry shows pretty much anywhere. I've done them in Panera's, I've done them in people's offices, I've done them in people's homes, I've done them in churches, I have done them on a beach. I have jewelry will travel. You can take the jewelry pretty much anywhere you want, and you can show the jewelry. But typically, you partner with the hostess, and the hostess is going to invite her friends over, or her family, or the people that she works with, whoever she wants. And she's going to reap the benefits by getting everything. She's going to reap the benefits by receiving jewelry as her benefit, and the jewelry lady makes money. So obviously, it's win-win. We just win in different ways. Hi, ladies. How are you? And so anyway, I'm going to show you what happens. An average show in Premier nationwide is about $580. Okay. I'm going to use $600 because I can divide easier using a round number. Okay. So I truthfully think though in Chicago, the average jewelry show is about $600. It's a little high, they have a little more disposable income than maybe they do in some of the southern towns and more remote areas. So the average home show, or jewelry show, is $600. Now, we make 50%, so that's pretty easy. You can know that the jewelry lady is going to make $300 profit. What I love about this, and I don't know that I necessarily appreciated it at the time, but we get paid that night. And a lot of direct sales companies, they have to take that money and turn it in, and then they send them the money the following month in their payday. We get paid the night that we do the show. So if you need money, you go to work tonight, you get money tonight. Isn't that wonderful? Because a lot of people need that money the following day for their bills. So if you have a $600 show, you sell everything at full retail, you're going to make a $300 profit. Now the hostess, we have a hostess plan. Premier provides the benefits. We don't have to give the jewelry out of our profit, and they're going to get 30%. And this is a standard percentage. This comes from the company. This has always been our hostess plan, and it will always be our hostess plan. But 30% of $600 is $180 in free jewelry. Now, what the hostess loves about this is it's totally free. I like to give this analogy. What's your favorite store? The shop. Macy's. So you go to Macy's, do you go to the full price counter or do you go to the sale rack?
Sale.
We all go to the sale rack. I would love to know the percentage of people that walk into a store and go straight to the full price. No one does that. And so we all go to the sale rack. So when you go to the sale rack, if you see 50% off, you think that's a really good deal, don't you? Do you ever see a rack that says free in Macy's? No. They never have free. But when a hostess can come to our jewelry store and she gets to go to the free rack. So I think that's really a great benefit for that. So she gets $180 in free jewelry. Now she can also earn 4 bonuses, and they're worth $25 each, and I'm going to tell you exactly what they are. She's going to get $25 in free jewelry if she schedules her show and does not change the date, which is important because obviously we all have lives. We count on this as income. When they change the date, it kind of jacks us around a little bit. When they have 10 adult guests in attendance, Premier is going to give them another $25. Now I always say 10 guests does not mean grandpa in the back room or your baby sleeping in the other room. It's 10 guests that are there. Now don't get me wrong, I do shows with you in 2, I'll do shows with you in a few, and I'll do shows with you in a slew. Whatever works best for you is fine for me because truthfully it's about the hostess, it's not about me that night. But I want her to know that if she does have 10 guests.
Those are dollars or jewelry?
Those
are dollars.
This is in free jewelry.
Jewelry.
$25 in free jewelry. Good question, thank you. Okay, the next one is if she has $100 in pre-sales. So I always tell her, if you want to invite 10 people, 1 out of every 4 people you invite will probably make it. So if whoever can't come to the show, show them the catalog. And if you sell $100 before I get to your house, guess what? Premier's going to give you another $25 in free jewelry. But the best part is that you're still getting 30% of that. So you get 30% of $100, that's $30. Plus you get $25 for having that bonus, and you get $25 for holding your date. Wow, you're up to $80, and I haven't even walked in your front door yet in free jewelry. So that's extremely generous. And then the last one is when 3 people schedule and actually date a show at your show. and you get another, they have you have dates on the calendar, so you have 3 shows, which is going to keep your business going. Now what happens is when you get to the show, you start showing the jewelry. And you can have someone like me there that doesn't wear jewelry. And then all of a sudden you start showing the jewelry and you create the need for the jewelry. And people realize, wow, that really is pretty. Maybe I should think about starting to wear the jewelry. And you educate women on why they should wear jewelry and how to wear jewelry. And it really does create the need for the jewelry. So even people that don't do shows typically, or people that don't wear jewelry, they oftentimes will